Hello and welcome to League of Loggers. This is Season 4, Episode 6. As always, literally always, I'm Curtis James. Unfortunately, I do not have Chase of Viking Redbeard with me tonight, but in his stead, we do have a guest host, the one, the only Jeff, Coach Slippy. How are you doing today, Jeff?
Not too bad. I mean, I had a heck of a day at work, so I'm looking to unwind a little bit.
And as you can tell from his attire, Coach Slippy is an office man who sells televisions.
Televisions? Oh, that's a new one.
Well, I mean, your head's a television, so...
It works.
It does work. But yeah, so normally Chase and I, we break down the week's events, teams rising, falling, weird things. We'll have a little bit of that, but as it's a bit of a different show, we're going to have a bit of a different focus today. We did just cross over the halfway point, so we're going to do a lot of breaking down of teams, if they've met expectations, exceeded expectations, fallen way below expectations so far this split, and what we expect in the back half. Now, there was one huge piece of news that we kind of can't skip over, and that is the introduction of Pobelter to the mid lane of CLG. Coach, what did you think of that?
You know, I was appreciative that they were actually trying to do something. You know, instead of remaining the dumpster fire, which they're still a dumpster fire, let's not get too out of hand with that.
Yeah.
But at least they're trying something different, you know. The CLG ended the season last year in 3rd place, and now you're seeing them drop all the way down to last, literally last, where they have like 2 or 3 to the nearest opponent. I think it's at least 2, you know, if not 3 at this point.
They're 3 whole games behind the clump ahead of them, yeah.
So
they've got 1 win.
Exactly, 1 win out of 10 games. It's insane because not much of their roster has changed and everything. And bringing Pobelter in, I think that veteran status that Pobelter has, I mean, you can kind of see in some of their recent games where they're doing better. But in my opinion, they still don't have that sync yet like the other teams do. They still need to work on it a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they haven't even been playing together for a full week yet with Pobelter. And their first game was Cloud9. And their second game was FlyQuest.
Right, nobody expected them to win that.
Yeah, they faced the top 2 teams in the league. FlyQuest, some people might argue they're only like, in the top 3 kind of thing. But yeah, they faced 2 of the hardest teams in the league. Now, next week, they do get to face off against TSM, another hard one. And Immortals, who's no slouch either. Like, their first 4 games for Pobelter, not easy.
No, but I mean, it's coming to a question of if they lose the next 4, do they even have a shot at playoffs? And they would.
No,
because
they're so close to being eliminated the way it is.
Exactly.
I think if they lose 2, they almost stand 0 chance of making it.
Right, and I hate to say it, but at this point, CLG may just have to say, you know what, spring split, let's get some practice in, let's get some experience for our guys, try to get them in sync, and then just look forward to the summer split. It's just the way it might have to end up for them now.
And to a point, I think that's what they're doing with this swap out from Crown to Pobelter. I think they're making a proactive decision, something to make their team better, and you know what, just gut reaction, I think they made the right choice there. Now, Crown, we know, can be a very good mid laner. The guy's a world champion, but it wasn't showing this year. There's so much just disconnect, it seems, going on that team. And I don't know, maybe he'll get the whole Cloud9 Academy treatment where all of a sudden he comes back better than ever, or maybe he's just not the right fit for CLG. Because, like you said, they were 3rd place last split.
Exactly. There's that, but then there's also, I don't know whether it be language barrier, coaching issues, stuff like that. Who knows at this point? It's just CG, it's free LG at this point. It's a common joke. So
yeah,
it makes me so sad because I actually like Wiggly. I love that name. I love him as a jungler. I loved him last split, even when he was with CLG and everything. But yeah,
it's not looking great right now. And I mean, I made the comment last week. I think Kev mentioned it in the chat at the time. I was actually pretty proud of it later when I realized what I had said, but that CLG doesn't really have much of an identity other than losing right now.
No, it's absolutely true. Kev hit it on the freaking nose on that. And
Yeah.
I had laughed at it too. So
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get away from that and just get into our breakdown of the league as a whole. I think obviously we can just go ahead and say CLG underperforming, right? Not meeting expectations in any way, shape, or form. And really, even out of the teams that we expected to do poorly this year, if CLG had been one of them, I don't think we would have ever thought they would do this poorly. I mean, there's just nothing on the right page for them. Do you think they're going to get it together now that they have Pole Belter going through the end of the season? Or the split?
I mean, it's going to take them a few games. It's just the way it's going to go. You know, they got to get in sync with Pole Belter, get the practice in.
Yeah.
Even after a few games, I think what we're going to see is, yes, they're going to try, but
yeah,
I really think it's going to be Summer Split. If they start popping off in Summer Split, I think they made the right choice.
Yeah.
You know, they might even make some changes into Summer Split. You know,
I would not be shocked at all.
I wouldn't be either. It's just the players themselves are kind of starting to underperform, and I think as a team as a whole, they really just need focus needs to be what can we do to make it better. / do we need to sync our players more? You know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going on behind the curtain. So
no, not at all. I mean, I think right now, like you said, it's more of a focus on figuring out what needs to change going into summer, because obviously this split's basically already done. Yep. Unless some miracle run happens. I mean, we've seen a team like Cloud9 do it, but I think it's not only different players, but it's a different organization as a whole. And Cloud9 and I think one other team have like made a run like that, and that's about it.
Right, and even then, I don't see the players being the caliber of what that Cloud9 team was to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So. It's not the players that team had, and it's not the same organization that has a history of doing things like that. I would say right now, though, it looks like probably for them, you're looking to probably struggle next week as well against TSM and Immortals, and then TL after that, and you're just looking ahead all the way to the last 5 games of the split, where you have Evil Geniuses, Dignitas, Cloud9's going to be rough again, and then Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves. Like, you're already planning ahead to those 4 out of 5 games and saying, okay, can we pick up 3 of these? If we can pick up 3 of these 4 games, then we've got something, you know. That alone would, you know, triple their win total, or quadruple their win total. Hopefully they can look towards that. But let's go ahead and move up the rankings. There's a 4...
To the soup!
Yeah, the soup, which has become such a popular thing. Oh my gosh. They were teasing Mark with it on the desk. It was super...
Oh, but
just so
he
enjoyable.
Nailed it on the head. That term, I think it's just genius. It's absolutely describing exactly what the rest of the league is, because you got CLG on the bottom, Cloud9 on top, and everybody else just condensed in the middle.
Yeah. Oh, they're a condensed soup now.
I mean, I would say so, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, the soup's starting to separate a little bit, but not much. Let's look at that. We've got this group of 4 teams rather stuck together at 6th place. They all are 4 and 6, so not even 500. Let's just go ahead and hit them in more or less alphabetical order. So we're going to start with 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves started off this season looking all right, and they've kind of slumped since then. The only team they've played twice so far being Golden Guardians, if they won both of those games. So heading into the season, what did you think of this 100 Thieves squad? Bringing back Meteos, Cody Sun, putting Someday back on the roster, a unknown quantity in Ryoma in the mid, yep. And then, shoot, I just blanked on who their support is.
Stunt?
Yeah, Stunt, there we go. Stunt's fairly... He's played some, but, you know, not a ton of experience. So what did you think of this roster coming into the split and where they are now? Which, I mean, obviously they're not like it did last. They're tied with a bunch of other teams in 6th. Technically, they have their own playoff fate in their hands right now. What do you think of from beginning of the season to now?
Going into it, looking at the team, Someday I knew, you know, he's a good top laner, obviously. Meteos, if he had his stuff together, I had high hopes for him. Bottom lane and mid lane, I didn't really know too much. I mean, there's Cody's son, but Stunt and Ryoma, I was just like, okay, let's wait and see how they do here.
Right.
They've kind of done better than I expected them to, honestly.
Yeah.
The
I
problems
can see
that
that.
the problems that 100 Thieves were having last split, I think they've kind of shaken it out. They shaked up the roster a little bit, and you know, I'm serious. I really thought that they'd be lower at this point with less wins, but
Well,
they're doing really good for what.
I mean, they couldn't have a whole lot fewer wins. I mean,
Right, they're
3
still
fewer in
CLG.
their CLG, yeah. So, I don't know. Personally, I think this team having just that core that we felt pretty sure of, Someday, Meteos, Cody Sun, that core alone made me think that this team could have something there. And I do still have quite a bit of confidence in Papa Smithy being a part of that organization now, but I do also think, especially with Papa Smithy, they're taking more of a long-term approach. Like, granted, they got back Cody Sun and Meteos, which are a little bit of a, hey, let's do well now thing, but those are also core players that, especially, I think, Cody Sun, that you can look to play through for a few more seasons.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, and he's performing so much better than he was last
well,
split.
I think he was fine
so.
last, but last time he was on 100 Thieves, maybe, but that was with
Okay,
Aframu. I mean, because obviously last split he made it back to Worlds. Like,
yeah.
the split before that, obviously, Clutch did not look too hot, but I don't feel. Cody Sun didn't even play all that split, so. I don't know. I think this team's interesting. It has so much potential that doesn't feel guaranteed by any means, but also it doesn't feel like they're playing up to a lot of it either. So it's this weird middle ground for me. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed in their performance, but I'm also not happy with it if I'm them.
Yeah.
What?
I could see them wanting to do better. I agree with that.
Oh yeah. Now, based off of their current standing, what do you think their trajectory out for the rest of the season is?
I'd say strong 7th.
Strong
If they can
seventh.
get it
Okay.
together. Yep. I'd say they'd be in contention for 7th.
I mean, I think
If
that's pretty reasonable. So you think they're pretty well out of playoffs, though, because it does only go down to 6 in this split.
Right, and I just don't see it with teams like obviously Cloud9. There's almost no way they're not going to make playoffs at this point.
Yeah.
TL, I see them doing so much better than what they are right now, and we'll get into that. But yeah, compared to the rest of the teams, I see 100 Thieves strong 7th. If they get it together, they might even make 6th, but I don't think so.
Strong seventh almost feels like an oxymoron. But let's go ahead and move forward then. Next one in that order then is going to be Evil Geniuses. So Evil
the
Geniuses.
One I had such high hopes for.
This is a roster I pegged going into the season as having a really broad ceiling and floor. I mean, they brought in Kumo from Academy Cloud9, Sven Skaren and Zazel from starting at C9, and Sven Skaren being the MVP of the previous split. Also bringing in to fill out that roster Jizuke from EU.
LEC.
Yep, from the LEC,
Yep.
who's been good. He had a down split last split, but he was also like sick for quite a bit of that. And then to fill out their bot lane, Bang, another former world champion coming over from a pretty lackluster season on 100 Thieves. Now, I feel like this team is getting better. I still feel like there's a bit of Jizuke and Bang not being on page with the Cloud9 trio, as it were. But I also feel like early in the split, Kumo wasn't doing anything. And he seems to be improving. So it looks like they're starting to coalesce. It just looks like the communication or the mindset, or maybe a little bit of both, isn't together. I think if they can lock that down, they can move up a few spots. They could end up a 5th, or maybe a 4th, but there's that core of teamwork that seems to be lacking for me. What do you think's holding them back right now?
I agree with you right there. I don't know if it's a communication issue, what's going on there. I don't know if it's Jizuke thinks, oh, I can go off do this on my own, mid lane, kind of mentality that you get in solo queues sometimes.
There's definitely some of that.
Oh, definitely. But also, if you, I don't know how much you watch like the players themselves when they're playing, but I've spent a little bit of time actually watching Jizuke when he was on camera this past weekend during the matches, and I didn't see him talking once.
Right.
And I don't know if it's just he's just listening and not responding, because
He could be big about just taking direction too.
right,
And
I
maybe we
don't
just didn't see when he was talking. That's obviously always a chance.
right. So I don't know if it's that. I don't know if it's just I mean, obviously he speaks English. He's been speaking it for a while, coming from EU. That's what they speak on comms.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's Italian, and I think he's like the only Italian LEC player, or one of the only.
yeah.
So there's no way they were speaking Italian in comms.
Oh no, absolutely not. So I don't know if that's like if it's just they haven't found that communication, because obviously the Cloud9 trio, that was a good one. But anyways, them coming over, they're used to each other. They're used to talking on comms, and you can see that in match.
Right.
Their last match that they had, what was it, last night, I think. You could really see it, like they were grouped up, they were doing their thing, and then you got Bang over here and you got Jizuke over here, and it just was not coming together for him.
Yeah,
so.
It's funny because just last week's episode we were talking about there's that pregame interview with Bang where he just seems really sad, and he says the thing about like, I'm just one guy, I can't control the whole team kind of thing. And then there's the pregame interview or was it pregame interview, or my bad, Travis Gafford interview with Zazel. I think it was Travis Gafford, actually. And Zazel basically said, that, well, Bang just kind of seems like to be off and does his own thing. Jizuke does Jizuke thing. Like, yes, Bang can't control us all, but then it seems like sometimes he makes what he believes is the right decision, regardless of whether or not the team's doing anything. And that's something that is preached from the lowest levels of, I won't say bronze because nobody preaches anything down there worth listening to. You stole my kill. But like from high silver people who actually do have the potential to get better up to, pro play, it's not always about what's the right and what's the wrong decision. It's very often about making that decision altogether. Because if you make the right decision alone, it ends up being very bad. If you make the wrong decision together, it has the potential to end up good. And that's where I think this falls a lot, is like Bang doesn't necessarily agree with the rest of the team on how to play. And by the rest of the team, I'm guessing that's mostly Zazel and Sven Skaren. And maybe he's right, and the rest of the team needs to listen to him a bit more and come to his way of thinking. But also, if they disagree and they make another call, he needs to not just go ahead and fucking do that. Because that's where we're seeing that disjoint, is what it seems. Between interviews and what we see in game, it seems like he thinks, okay, this is the thing to do. And they're like, no, we're not doing that. Or they say that we should do this. He goes, no, we're not doing that. And they both follow the calls they make themselves, rather than, okay, the team is all fucking doing this, let's just do it.
Right. No, I could see that. I mean, you watch their matches, and, obviously, like I was saying earlier, you've got all three of them grouped up, but then the rest of them, they're just like, no, this is the right call, push this. And it's just like, nope, I know I'm right. You never know what's going on inside comms and all of that, but I definitely think it's some sort of communication issue, and hopefully they get that figured out.
So where do you see them ending this split? I think they're on the upward trajectory. I'm going to guess 5th right now. It just depends on how much they coalesce as a team. They could end as high as 4th as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, actually, I could agree with that. I think they have a lot of potential in their players. I mean, Sven Skaren was MVP. Jizuke was a freaking beast when he wasn't sick in the LEC.
Yeah.
So
he's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you got Bang, former world champion.
Yeah.
Zazel, he got so much experience just playing on Cloud9 and being surrounded by, all those good players on there.
Yeah.
So Kumo, he's up and coming, and he got that Cloud9 Academy treatment. Yeah. Off the bench, here we go.
Yeah.
So they all have tremendous potential, I think, and I could agree with that fourth, or fifth or fourth.
Okay, so where do you see Golden Guardians? Because right now they're also in this group. They're in the 4 and 6 range. Started off with an 0-2 week, have ended now the 5 weeks with an 0-2 week, getting their 4 wins in the middle of that against CLG, Dignitas, Team Liquid, Evil Geniuses. So some of the teams they're clumped with, one below them, one above them. Like, where do you see this team that has seen the ups and the downs of Keith McBrief now being a support player, and just this team as a whole is kind of an interesting team. What do you think of it?
Definitely interesting. They're performing better than I thought they would, honestly. I would put them in ninth, or close to, at just looking at it before the beginning of the split.
Yeah.
Looking into it, I could see them going sixth. If they get it together and everything, I could see them making playoffs.
Okay.
With them playing currently the way they are, I don't know. Like, it's a very much, going back to Evil Geniuses, they need to start figuring something out. I don't know what the problem with Golden Guardians is, though. They have a few good games, and then it looks like they're doing poor.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if it's just a case of team identity, figuring out who we are.
Yeah. And well, it's funny because I think the team kind of knows who they are. You're waiting for, not waiting on, but you're still spending this time with Keith getting better on the support role, which he's still extremely, extremely new to.
Right.
Picked it up a few weeks before the split started. And we've seen him improve. We've seen him kind of find champions he's better at. It'll be interesting, to see as Cinderhulk comes into vogue if more and more tank champions are, valued elsewhere, including support, or what'll happen, if that'll affect him as well. But I think we've seen Keith get better. We've still struggled to see great jungle support synergy, even though Closer has been very good. I think Closer's probably been the surprise player of the split, but at the same time, I think when I'm looking at this team, I don't have faith in Hanser.
Nope.
I think that
Hanser's,
because you say team identity, and I get that, trying to say, okay, where are we playing? What lanes are we playing through, and things like that. In my opinion, Hanser continues to overall suffer from the issues that held him back on TSM. He's very, very capable on, aggressive and dueling characters up top. He's not amazing at them. He's not Viper on Riven. He's not Licorice on Aatrox. He's, not a bunch of these. But it's not that he's terrible at those. It's that he doesn't want to play tanky top laners. And I feel like he plays them pretty well overall, unless he just doesn't feel like playing it that game or something. It's weird. And right now when Ornn is OP as hell,
oh god, yeah.
And with Cinderhulk getting buffed, he should be ready to play some Sunfire tops and just crush it up there. And I think this team becomes better if you're not trying to feed resources to him, because I don't think FBI is a good enough player to run bot lane without resources. And so I think you have to give him some. I think Closer should be getting some and distributing them throughout the team, and I think he can do that. I don't want to be giving resources to Hanser because I feel like it's so 50-50 on whether you get anything out of it. So I think tank is where he should be, but I don't think he likes that at all. And I also get, if your player doesn't want to play it and you make him play it, is he going to play well? Probably not. So it becomes this real rock and a hard place.
He is a decent top laner. I have to agree with that. The one that I was most surprised, besides Closer on Golden Guardians, I cannot think of his name right now, but their mid laner.
Golden Glue.
What is it? Golden Glue. Yeah.
I mean, Golden Glue. I think he's good too.
Yeah, he's always been. He's always been there. He's not like a pop-off player like Jensen or Bjergsen or any of them, but I think he's still decent in their mid lane.
Yeah.
I think you're right that closer needs to give him resources, because if he can get popping off, then that would allow him to go down bot lane a little bit, roam, and also that would allow closer to go up top more, help Haunter out, give him those
Yeah,
resources.
and I think overall we've seen Golden Glue be honestly, as far as the laners go, I think he's been the most trustworthy laner that they have so far this season. Even like in the games where the team's losing, like this week, the team was losing, and like I think it was against 100 Thieves that he was on Zoe. Yeah, he was against Zoe on 100 Thieves, and I had that down as a win for some. Oh, because I didn't cheat. Oh, he was on Zoe both games, and both games though, like he did fine if I recall. Like even though the team's struggling and having a hard time, Golden Glue's there. He's getting damage out. He's getting kills. He's not dying all over the place. He's not the problem. And granted, Haunter isn't the problem either. The problem's usually Keith and FBI. Sometimes it's, other people. But
Yeah,
I think
Keith and FBI definitely have a habit of being able to feed bot lane hard.
yeah, and I just feel like if I'm looking at this team and my goal is to, min-max it, quote-unquote, to try and get the most out of this roster. And regardless of player feelings, which should be considered, don't get me wrong, but if I'm playing these guys like they're little, Final Fantasy Tactics characters, and I'm going to get exactly what the hell I think is best out of them, I'm putting Haunter on a tank, I'm putting closer on something aggressive with something that can snowball a bit. Not like has to snowball, but something that can snowball, like Zoe for Golden Glue. Yep. And then I'm putting FBI and Keith on things that don't
survive.
Well, no. I was actually going to say don't do that. Don't just, survive the lane. Something that can use gold when it's brought to them, but don't have to win the lane. I kind of want FBI and Keith on similar things that Golden Glue's on. Like, I'm going to get you gold via closer, and you have to be able to use it. I also want you in a position where you can get that gold not only through me showing up down bot. And I think that's the way you roll this team. And so if you're doing that, if you're putting gold, or resources towards your jungle and needing that requirement, then you can't have Haunter up top on something else that needs gold. I don't want him on a split push. I don't trust him to win the 1v1s. I've seen him lose too many on Aatrox in my life to go, yep, give him Fiora, let's do this. Like, if I'm putting him on a split pusher, it's Rise. And honestly, I don't even want him on the Rise because I don't feel like that's currently in the meta to be really good right now. So I want him on Ornn. I want him on Maokai if that comes back into the meta. I want him on these.
Oh, I would love that.
I want him on beefy boys up top who don't give a fuck.
Right?
So
exactly. No, I agree with you. In the current meta, you can definitely see it too. I mean, most teams are prioritizing top tanks. And it's just the meta right now, and it's just so good. I mean, look at Set. Set is so
well, and Tank's a bruiser though too, like because he's tanky with that shield, but if you don't play it right, like so he's about brawling, much in the way Aatrox is about brawling and just getting the fuck in there,
Yeah.
Like you survive by playing the character right, because Aatrox the same way. You survive by hitting your Qs so that you lifesteal a crap ton because you popped your ult. And you got ahead and you have the items. But, like, Ornn's just good. Like, and I'm sure it was probably banned against them both times this week, because everybody should have been banning Ornn. I think it was banned.
Oh, God, yeah.
I think, it was banned in first round against them the first game and the second game. Yeah, and it was banned by the opposing team both times, and, which says something, that FlyQuest banned it on blue side because they didn't want to give it away. So, that's great and all, but then you end up with, Haunter playing Aatrox in the first game. And it's just like, yeah, I get it, but I don't like it. And then the second game he played Lucian, Lucian, he was against the Lucian as Gangplank and got destroyed. Someday hard carried that fucking game against him. Holy shit.
I think any Lucian into a Gangplank should hard frickin' decimate.
technically yes, but also we've seen not that happen. So I'm not like,
It's true. You've seen both sides of it.
yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump off that Golden Guardians bit for now. My last thought on them is just that I agree with you. I think they're performing better than I expect them to going into the season. I feel like whenever I'm like, oh man, yeah, they're outperforming, that means they could be playoffs. Then I'm like, I'm just forgetting that it's like, well, they're outperforming because I expected them to be so bad.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree.
I think this team has.
They're just a.
It has pieces to get good.
Surprise.
Yeah, it has pieces to get good going forward. I think Golden Glue and Closer are good pieces. I don't think Haunter's a bad piece. I just think he still has that same issue. I mean, maybe he's just bad at tanks, but I feel like 80% of the time I see him play tanks, he plays them well. He just doesn't like to, and then won't play them again. Or maybe that's just a team thing where they don't think he's actually that good at them. I don't know. I don't think FBI's and Keith are good enough bot lane to keep things going. I don't know who you slot in to make that bot lane better.
I don't either right
and
now.
I think Keith's a fine marksman still, most likely. But I also don't think he's like a vast upgrade over FBI, so it's like bringing another support to play with FBI or play with Keith as the marksman. I don't think that changes the team a whole lot. So we'll probably see an acquisition heading into summer for this team, I think. But let's get that last team down in the 6th place slot, the 4 and 6 team, who I think we'll just go ahead and say easily the most underperforming team in the LCS, and that's not CLG, it's Team Liquid. Team Liquid, 4 and 6. Now, granted, they are 2 and 2 since getting Broxa. Those wins are against CLG, big surprise, big whoop.
Free LG!
And Dignitas, with losses to Immortals and Evil Geniuses. So, just skipping straight past the fact that, yes, they are the most underperforming team because you went from a 4-time champion to tied in this under 500 group. Makes no sense. You know, like, CLG going from 3rd to 1 and 9 is crazy, but not the same level. But what do you think of TL right now? 2 weeks into Broxa. Where do you sit on this? Because we've had an extra week to watch.
Yes, and okay, so I had really high hopes when I saw Broxa come in. Like, I don't want to see TL win. It's like rooting against the Patriots at this point, like you said last week, right?
Yeah.
But I had super high hopes. Broxa is one of my favorite jungles. I watched him in LEC, on Fnatic. I freaking love watching Fnatic. And I had such high hopes. But seeing him in these 2 weeks, I don't know if the first week was because of jet lag. They still haven't found the synergy.
All the above.
You're right. I know last night I was very, very, very happy to see them going kind of where I thought they'd be. They're still not to the level I thought they'd be at, but they're getting there. They're getting some time going into it, and I really think we're going to start seeing that turnaround.
So you were confident in what you saw this week against Evil Geniuses and Dignitas?
Evil Geniuses was Monday night, right?
No, Evil Geniuses was back on Saturday.
Okay, Saturday.
Sunday. Sorry.
Sunday. Okay. So...
Because they lost to EG
Monday.
on Sunday, won last night, Monday, against Dignitas.
Okay, so them going into Dignitas, I thought Dignitas was starting to turn around really well. I was actually thinking, Dignitas might actually win this,
Right, they looked good against Immortals the night before. Or Saturday.
They really did. They really did. And, TL just found a way to kind of reverse that and all of that. I was paying especially attention to Double Lift and Broxa game. Double Lift, he's been underperforming. God, has he been underperforming. Yeah. It's not the Double Lift we're used to seeing. And with him on the Misfortune, I thought that was a great pick for him. She's a classic. She's definitely in a strong point right now. And Broxa on the Lee Sin, that's a signature pick for him. He's such a good Lee Sin player. And I was paying such good attention to it because, I saw a few kicks in there. I'm pretty sure towards the end, one of the Lee Sin kicks he got was because why they were able to pull off the win when they did. So I definitely see them on an upward trajectory. I hope they get the practice in. And all of that. You know, I want to see them do better just because of Broxa.
Yeah.
The rest of them,
I agree that I want to see them do better. I think the league will be better when there's more competitive teams. I think Team Liquid has the talent on the roster to be a competitive team. Now, from what I saw over this weekend, I'm actually not excited for them right now. I think their loss against EG was so disappointing. Like, EG looking better, but I mean, you and I both said, like, EG still trying to work it out, and they won that game against Liquid. And honestly, Monday night against Dignitas, I was not impressed. Like, they won that. Broxa had some good kicks. Great. But, like, the way they beat CLG in week 4, dominant, obviously. But it was CLG, and it's like, okay, but with an extra week, can they be this good and beat other teams in a similar fashion? And they didn't beat EG at all, and they didn't beat Dignitas anywhere near the type of way they beat CLG. Now, once again, Dignitas, much better team than CLG currently. But if this Liquid is supposed to be a good team, you can't win a game where it's like, well, one team just kind of looked a bit better. I'm not sure if it was which team looked better or which team looked worse in the outcome of Liquid and Dignitas personally. It wasn't, bubble wrap midget wrestling match by any means. But,
God, no.
But it wasn't good. Like, no one was making plays that I'm like, oh man, I can't believe they made a great rotation there. They made this good decision.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, well, they eked that one out. And honestly, I feel like Dignitas made such bad calls too. Like that dive under top turret, they waited 12, 15 seconds to set it up. One person edged in too soon and took turret aggro, backed out of it. The next person edged in before the aggro fully dropped, so the turret shot them. And so it's got 2 shots on it now, and then they start the play, which means now your AD carry's taking turret shots. So they fully stacked that turret aggro as the dive started, basically, which meant the jungler had to fuck off. So Greg had to get the hell out of there. He had to use stopwatch. Like, had they done that properly, they should have been able to take another 2 turret shots without anyone dying. Instead, they take all of that. They get nothing. Like, because you're diving impact to begin with, so you need to do it clean. And I think that got them all nervous, and they just all fucked it up. It was one of the slowest, worst dives I've seen in a long time. And so you see that happen, and Liquid still doesn't just, like, run away with the game. Like, yeah, they had a lead and kept, like, getting that lead to be bigger, over time, but they didn't do the Cloud9, what we've been seeing out of a well-put-together team, where it's just like, okay, we have this, and now we take this, and this, and this, and this. It was like, well, we might get this. Okay, yeah, Dignitas misplayed it, so we got it. Like, it was just, there was no, in my opinion, the way I watched it, it never felt like Team Liquid controlled that game as much as Dignitas never quite got their feet underneath them, and they were, like, flailing. Like, now, granted, there should be some credit to Team Liquid, because in the previous 4 weeks, we never seen them manage to get their feet under themselves. So they have their feet under them, but I feel like that's step 1 out of, like, 7. And there's only 4 weeks left to go. Like, looking at their...
God, that's crazy. There's only 4 weeks left.
Yeah, their schedule right now is 4-6. If they go 6-4 in the back half, that puts them at 9-9, right? Or I'm sorry, they can't go 6-4. If they go 5-3 in the back half, which is a good record,
yeah,
that puts them at 9-9. 9-9 has missed playoffs before, I think twice. Now it's not common, but it can happen. So when you're looking at their schedule going forward, they've got TSM next week. They've got Cloud9
That's going to be rough.
They've got Cloud9 to end the split, so maybe they'll have it all together by then, but I think Cloud9 should just continue to get better. And so if you drop one other game in there, say Immortals or FlyQuest, they have FlyQuest that last week as well, you might just miss playoffs entirely.
Which would be crazy, but...
From the 4-time reigning champion, yeah.
I know. I think like you have such the high caliber of players. You know, all of Team Liquid have been to Worlds. They've been,
Yeah.
all part of that. And you have the high caliber. I really think it comes down to they need that synergy that that all the other teams have right now
So
that are in the top tier.
so where do you see this team ending up now? All said and done,
If they
where do they end up?
if they can get the synergy together, I
Do you
could
think
see
they will though? That where do they end up? What do you think's gonna happen? Because we all know that like if they get it all together, this team was a preseason #1 ranked. They could be
Right.
that, but with the time left right now, where do you think they're actually gonna end up?
Hopefully sixth. I
Only
would
sixth.
hope for
Whew.
sixth.
You're
Yeah,
you're
I'm not
hoping.
gonna place them much higher.
Damn. Okay, I thought I was gonna be a little mean, being like I think they will probably be the third or fourth best
Okay.
team in the league at the end of week 9, but I think they'll be ranked like fifth.
No. The reason why I say that is because of how much time they need with Broxa to get that identity. We're seeing
Yeah.
teams that have started from the split
Yep.
till now.
Yeah, no,
I
you're
mean,
absolutely
yes.
right. Because everybody else started their synergizing 3 weeks earlier than Immortals, or I'm sorry, Liquid did.
Exactly. And then they've had this complete entire split to get that together too.
Yeah.
Whereas Broxa just coming in and everything.
All right.
If anything, I see 6.
I've got a fun one here. I in no way believe this will happen, but if this were to happen, if CLG with Pobelter were to end the split higher than Team Liquid with Broxa, is it the biggest boom of all time? It's gotta be, right? You take a world championship team, or not world champ, I'm sorry, a 4-time champion team, add on a world finalist jungler, world finalist and world semi-finalist jungler, no, just finalist, yeah.
No. Yeah, he did finals.
Yeah.
Yep.
You add in that guy, multi, I don't think he's ever won LEC because it was always G2. But yeah, you add on another, renowned jungler to this squad, and you end up lower than a team that halfway through the season has 1 win and swapped out mid laners in the middle of the season. A week later than you swapped your jungler in finally. They swap mid laners and like they're 3 games behind. If like CLG can like pass them or tie them, is that not the most like pathetic showing possible from Liquid?
I think so.
Also,
I
at that
really
point,
do.
Pobelter is the notorious POB for real.
No, I don't like, obviously that's just for fun, but
Yeah.
I really don't think this split's going to be Liquid split.
No.
I think
that passed 2 weeks ago, minimum.
Yep, I think so too. It's kind of like a case of CLG. Well, you could still make playoffs, but do I see you winning the split? No. I really think it's let's just focus on getting to playoffs. If you get into playoffs, try to place at least a high.
You're right. I mean, when you get to playoffs, anything can happen. It's best of 5s. You've had all this time to warm up. Maybe you're on point at that point. It's like we saw Clutch last split. Clutch hit their stride at the right time, and they made it far in playoffs, and then they won Gauntlet. So anything can happen once you make it there. But let's go ahead and move on, actually, to the team that used to be Clutch. Let's talk about Dignitas. They're tied for 4th with Immortals at 5-5. Heading into this split, actually, let's just hit both these teams at once, because I think both of these teams had promising pieces, but also a lot of uncertainty. Dignitas having Huni in the top lane, Brennan Johnson, who was a acclaimed solo queue prospect in the bot lane. Afromu coming over, trying to revive his career after a couple bad seasons on 100 Thieves. You've got Froggen in the mid, and Grig coming from TSM in the jungle. I think overall this team has been all right. Some ups and downs. But then you look at Immortals, and you've got kind of a very similar story. Top laner, Soaz, has been great in the past, but kind of, not as good recently, although Hundi did have another burst right at the end of last season. So you bring in Soaz there. In the jungle, you have Xmithy, who is like a through and through champion. but always kind of underrated. So he's been in the finals in LCS and to Worlds constantly during his entire career, and yet he's never considered like the highlight of a team because he's not a flashy player. Then you have in the mid lane, Immortals plugging in Ica, which is, newcomer. We'll see. We didn't know how that was going to pan out, and so far it's been a bit up, bit down. And then in the bot lane for Immortals, oh gosh, I'm blanking. You got me here, right?
No.
Oh no!
Ah!
Oh, I'm blanking it.
I am too.
That's what happens when I go through that many players all at once.
Right? Don't do that.
Mortals, LCS, roster.
Oh my
Boom.
God, who is it?
Oh, I know it. It's just going to make me angry when I'm going to see it here. There we go. Oh, Altec and Hakuho.
Okay, yeah,
Altec,
yeah.
a player who, he wasn't even in LCS last year, and showing up big, honestly. He's been doing quite well, statistically at least this year, and Hakuho's been a pretty consistent player throughout his career, and looking pretty good right now, too. So you've got these two teams with players who have had some highs and some lows. Ica and Johnson, who are both coming in as new prospects, Johnson with a lot more fanfare than Ica. And, here we are, they're sitting at the middle of the season with a middle-of-the-road record, 5-5. So,
Yep.
And I don't think either of these teams had high or low expectations, necessarily. But what do you think of them going forward and where they are right now? Do you think one's rising, one's falling, or they're both kind of where they belong?
I think they're kind of where they belong. First of all, I'm going to say this because I know Chase is going to hate me for it, but Aframu, my boy!
He has said, Chase has said that he wants Afro to prove him wrong, and there have been games this split where Afro has seemed to be back on track, and there's been ones where he's just kind of fading in the background. Honestly, I don't feel like he's inted, though, which is an improvement.
No. It really is on his end, because especially what we saw him with last split and everything. But Aframu, I'm just so happy to see he's performing well in some matches again, and I hope he continues doing that because he was one of my favorite supports to watch.
Right.
But also I think him with Johnson, pairing up with them, it's just. I think it's working out really well in their favor. Trajectory, I see it going upward at the more they get more games under their belt. As for the rest of Dig, Huni, all of that, I have high hopes for him to make at least playoffs. I really do. As for what place they land in, I'm not sure right now. Same with Immortal. Nobody really stands out for me with Immortals. I just like watching the team. I think they, they're starting to kind of find it. They're starting to get into the middle of the pack and all of that like they should be, I think, at this point. Actually, I had higher hopes for Dig, to be completely honest.
No, I think that's fine. I don't think either of these teams have looked great to me. Dig looked pretty good in their first, 3 games, but that was also when we didn't know anything about CLG, Evil Geniuses, or TL. Those were their first 3 games, first 3 wins, and well, turns out those were about as good of a starting set as you could get.
Yeah.
And Immortals, their most recent, I guess more so where I end up, worried about Immortals is their recent 3 games were losses. Evil Geniuses, Dignitas, and Cloud9. And granted, Cloud9 fine, but Evil Geniuses and Dignitas, you're competing with Dignitas for that playoff spot. Evil Geniuses, I think, is starting to look better, but I don't know that they may be competing for you for that 6th spot. Who knows? And I think one other thing Team Liquid has, it's not a great mark on them, is they end up losing that game to Team Liquid yesterday. And that's before Team Liquid's looking great. If you are going to get a chance to get that win in, when do you do it? You do it right now. You get it in right now. You try and squeeze it in as they're still getting their feet under them. And, Dignitas is the one team that got to get their second match against TL, as early as possible. And they didn't pull it off. Like, in going forward, every team's going to have a harder and harder time, at least as we expect that team to ramp up. So Dignitas not getting that win now doesn't help their odds. Like, they don't get that leg up, I should say, on any of their competition. I think either of these teams will be disappointed if they may miss playoffs. I also don't think we'll see both of these teams make playoffs. I think...
Really?
Well, if we look at it standings right now, if we say these two teams and the three above them are all in playoffs, that leaves one spot. And I think we all think Team Liquid's probably going to get a spot, which means Evil Geniuses, Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, and CLG. We're going to assume CLG misses, but Evil Geniuses, Golden Guardians, and 100 Thieves, all three of those would also have to miss playoffs. And I'm not fully confident that Evil Geniuses, 100 Thieves, Golden Guardians, that one of those three doesn't get it quite enough together. I think both Immortals and Dignitas, at least currently, are better than all of those teams. I just don't know if they can hold out. If I had to have faith in one holding out, though, I would put my faith in Immortals. Which is... It feels a little weird for me to say, because I think Ica is going to be very exploitable by a lot of teams, including Dignitas. But I'm worried that Afromu will underperform at an important time. Huni,
probably.
We've seen only one of them, but we have yet this split seen a full Huni tilt game. And I'm afraid if they hit any more of a rough patch. Like, Dignitas has FlyQuest and Cloud9 next week. Not an easy set.
No.
But and I hope that their executive team, their coaching staff, their front office is smarter. But I'm afraid if they lose those, they've dropped 3 to TL, FlyQuest, Cloud9. And they make a rash decision to sub in Acadian instead of Greg, which may get them wins against 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians, great, but then they have CLG, EG, and maybe they drop one of those.
Okay.
I'm afraid that they make a change when they don't need to. And granted, I think Acadian's a good jungler. I think you just play the whole split with the same fucking person when you're fine right now. And you don't panic about missing playoffs, especially, and I hope every team's coaching staff is smart enough to realize this. If you are not competing to win this split, if you don't think you're going to be better than Cloud9, shoot for playoffs, but don't freak out about not being, in them. Being in playoffs is important. You get a lot more experience. It helps you feel out the team. But, you should not be sacrificing this split to make playoffs. And you definitely shouldn't be aiming for, okay, well, I think we can just make playoffs, but we need to be better than that. No. If you can make playoffs with your current team, great. That's all the further you fucking need to make it, because guess what? You're not winning. If your argument is, well, we can make 6th, but can we make 3rd? Who fucking cares if you can make 3rd? Can we make it to finals? If you want to get... if you're not sure if you can do better than 6th, you're not going to win finals, so who fucking cares about making it? Fucking build a cohesive team. So I think my worry is that Dignitas would be more likely to switch. I also think Ica can just get better. He's got a lot more space to improve. And then the veterancy... There's veterancy on both teams, don't get me wrong. But when I'm looking at Huni, Froggen, Afromu versus Soaz and Xmithy, I lean towards Soaz and Xmithy. Those motherfuckers been around since season 3.
Yep. I can see.
Soaz has been around since 2, actually. He was on Against All Authority, I think.
Yeah, they've got so much experience under their belt.
Yeah, they have the ability to keep it cool and just win a fucking game. We've seen, granted, they almost lost that game against fucking, was it CLG that they just bet, or was that somebody, I don't know, but they've had some garbage games, but I think cooler heads can prevail sort of thing will help them out in a way that Dignitas would. I mean, the turret dive we saw against Team Liquid by Dignitas is not something I would ever expect to see out of Immortals.
Yeah, Yeah, I actually agree with you there. I see exactly where you're going.
But
So yeah.
my gut tells me Dignitas is the better team. But like when I try to analyze it, I'm like, no, I think Immortal, like it's such a mess. I don't know.
Oh, it is.
Let's move into our top three though. Right now, I think most people would say these are the three strongest looking teams. So let's first hit up number 3, TSM, sitting at 6-4 after getting a 2-0 week against 100 Thieves and Evil Geniuses to close out their half and start their new one. What do you think of TSM right now?
I am so happy.
You're happy?
Well, here's the reason why. I love watching Bjergsen.
Okay.
I do. I don't know what it is about the guy, but I love watching him. And I know he's part owner now, there's stuff like that. But I'm just happy to see TSM coming together. Also, Broken Blade. Oh my god, I loved that Ornn kill he did last night. So good!
Yeah.
The solo Ornn kill.
That is what happens when someone doesn't respect the damage Ornn puts out and thinks they're going to get off a shield or something in between. Like, no, he combos that straight up.
Yeah, but I mean, seeing TSM how they are now, but compared to when they first started the split, they're going in the right direction. They're doing so much better than I would have said week 2. It's
Yeah.
they really are, and I'm happy to see that because I see them being a contender with FlyQuest for seconds.
Yeah.
I really do. So I like to see that competition. I like to be able to be like, oh, this is gonna be a good game.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think TSM's looking very good right now. Their early split woes of having no mid game have been cleared up pretty well. Dardock's still looking good, looking stable on the team, which was a worry for me heading into the split. Well,
so surprising.
I'm not surprised because their record's good. Like,
true.
Week 1 sucked. They lost a 60-minute game right off the bat to Immortals, and then lost to Liquid with a sub-jungler. Not a great start. But luckily for them, EG and CLG ended up being garbage teams, so they weren't at a negative record, after 2 weeks. Then they win against Dignitas and Golden Guardians, and that Dignitas was right in the middle of that kind of I'd say slump for Dig, but that's when they played FlyQuest, TSM, Cloud9. Like, everybody has a slump when they manage to play those 3 teams, because duh.
Yeah.
And then, so TSM's only 4 losses. Those 2, week 1, when they did not look good. And since then, Cloud9 and FlyQuest last week, back in week 4. And granted, they need to want to beat FlyQuest this next time. They want to split that head-to-head so they have a shot at second still. And they get TL to start off next week, which TSM, that feels like a great fucking moment to catch them. You can get the, split head-to-head now. You want to get it as I said earlier with Dig failing to capitalize, you want it as soon as possible.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. So they get their number 2 stab at TL, being, the second team of the second round that TL plays. So if they can get that win, they've split with TL. If they can beat FlyQuest when they get that, they can split with FlyQuest. And now they're looking at being able to take second place. They just have to continue playing at the level they are and improving. I think you made a great call out that Broken Blade's looking good. I like that this team in general is playing through him. You're seeing Dardock bring some resources to Bjergsen, but also being top a lot. You're seeing Bjergsen try and, push in and help around Rift and such, which everybody's doing, don't get me wrong. But this team doesn't seem all about the Bjergsen show anymore. It doesn't seem about let's bring everything down to Kaveh, which they try to do when they had Sven and Mithy a bit. They're making a choice to move things not directly to Bjergsen, and holy shit, it's working!
Right, no, Kaveh's getting some resources. You got Broken Blade getting resources.
It's mostly Broken Blade. They're playing. Oh yeah, they're playing through Broken Blade, and it's the right idea for this squad.
Yeah, I mean, you've got resources going all over the board.
Yeah.
So it's insanely nice to see that. You're like you said, it's not the Bjergsen show. It feels to me like since he became part owner of TSM that he has more invested in the whole team instead of just himself.
And I don't think that's the case. I think that the coaching has shifted things. Like, it shifted a little bit last split. I think Because he's never been he personally hasn't played selfishly, I don't think, for a while.
Okay.
I mean, he played 2 Syndra games this week. Like, I do think, I guess you're a little right that, like, you know, there seems to be a bit of a shift. I just don't know if it's, you know, the fact that I have ownership. I don't think that did anything with it. I think it's more so we've sucked for 2 years.
I'm tired of it.
Yeah. Like, what needs to change? Well, maybe you need to say, which lane do you want to play through, and don't say mid. Go. Like, and he's like, fine, let's play through top. I had Broken Blade with me last year, and I was okay with it. And they're like, cool, great, we're playing through him. And, like, and Broken Blade's just gotten better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think he's number 2 top laner in the league. Not gonna lie.
It's possible, yeah. So I think we will likely see this team end at second. I think they'll probably tie or pass FlyQuest, and if they tie them, I think they beat them in the head-to-head to decide it. So I feel like FlyQuest just has a few more stumbles available to them than TSM does, which feels a bit unfair to say, though, because right now they're a game ahead. Although, you know, if they lose the back end half, you know, head-to-head against TSM, then, you know, you're tied right there. I also think they don't face TL until week 8, which kind of sucks for... I'm sorry, FlyQuest faces TL week 9, which sucks for TL, or FlyQuest, goddamn. And I just... Like I said, TSM's week 1 losses sucked, but that was also them being, like, garbage at the time. And FlyQuest has lost Cloud9 TL, but also they lost Evil Geniuses in week 3, which isn't a great look. And, like, just so rolling straight into FlyQuest, another team that's looking good. Obviously, they're in second place, only 3 losses, 1 game ahead TSM. But I'm worried about Viper.
Yeah.
I mean, are people still banning Riven against him? I didn't even check.
Oh, God, yeah.
I've been No, I don't think so.
No, they didn't.
CLG didn't.
FlyQuest didn't.
Yeah, CLG didn't ban him, but, you know, it's CLG and they lost. Golden Guardians did ban Riven, though. Okay. I mean, I don't think FlyQuest felt any need to pick Riven against CLG. So,
oh, no.
But, yeah, like, he looked really good in the Riven games. He's looked good in some of the other games, but he's also kind of disappeared at times. I feel like Santorin's doing great. Power of Evil's doing very good, so awesome on him. But it's that top lane. You got Wild Turtle and Ignar, also looking good. I think Ignar and Power of Evil were great upgrades to the team. I'm just disappointed in Viper because I expected him to have developed more by now. And I just... Yeah. He's been playing a lot of Set recently, a lot of Aatrox. Maybe he's someone who will mold into the a Sunfire tank top meta really easily. Like, hopefully,
I hope so.
I think the top laner who can be a trendsetter on that will only help their team. I think whoever can be like, okay, obviously, like, Ornn's going to be banned by everyone. I'm sure it was banned against them. Or they probably banned it against Golden Guardians. Yeah, they banned it against Golden Guardians because they were on blue side. And they didn't want to give it over. They wanted to first pick Set, I guess, and not have the Ornn to deal with. Honestly, I think you just pick Ornn right now. He's just broken right now.
Yeah,
but
if he's open, pick him.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. But I think Ornn and, you know, the other tanks will see slowly filter up into top. Hopefully Viper can play those, because I think with the way Power of Evil is playing right now, and Santorin's doing really good with feeding him and doing well in all the other lanes, including coming to top, get a fed tank and then just frontline for PoE. Like, seems like a pretty sick win condition to me.
Right? Yeah, no, I think that's... I think you're dead on with that. But...
My silver tier analysis. Analysis.
Right. No, but here's the thing, though. Going forward,
yeah.
FlyQuest and TSM, who do you place second? Who do you place third? I know who I've got.
I said TSM. I think TSM is second because they get TL on Saturday. I think it's Saturday. You know, they get that. It has to be Saturday, actually, because there's no way both those teams like would play Sunday, Monday. So,
Right.
yeah. So I think TSM gets TL on Saturday. FlyQuest gets TL week 9. So that there has the opportunity to be a worse matchup for FlyQuest.
Yep.
And so also you have the head-to-head, which I think they're fairly even teams, and even then that's not till week 7. So if TSM is continuing to improve, which they have, whereas FlyQuest started off pretty well and has kind of stayed there, I think there'll be another close game. Which I'm going to say it's TSM just so I can say it's 1-1 overall record. But then, like I said, the other loss for FlyQuest is to Evil Geniuses. And they lost to week 2 TL. Like, it's not like TL was looking great then either. But, like, then again, they beat TSM. I think it's TSM just on my gut reaction that TSM seems to be improving more. Now, if Viper has it together, if the tank meta works for Viper, I would swap immediately for FlyQuest. Because I think if Broken Blade's not carrying, I'm more worried about this TSM. Because I don't think you can currently hard carry through the jungle. Especially if it is heading into a tank meta. So, it's not like, and I think that also hurts Dardoch more than it hurts Santorin. I think Dardoch's a more aggressive jungler than Santorin. So, if it heads towards a tank Cinder Hulk meta, then that helps Santorin over Dardoch. It could possibly help Viper over Broken Blade, but I think Broken Blade's a good enough player, he'll play whatever. But I think it ruins the damage focus a bit for TSM, because right now you're playing pretty handily through top, whereas if it becomes, it's a mid lane bot focus, I don't think either of these teams are hard carrying through Kabe or Wild Turtle right now. Maybe TSM will be able to carry through Kabe, but I think Power of Evil in the mid lane is hard carrying really well, and Bjergsen, well, we obviously all know he can, multi, LCS champion and MVP. I also think right now, if I'm looking for a damage threat, I take PoE. If I'm looking for a team player, I take Bjergsen. So, I think it's TSM, but if tank helps, if Viper's great on tanks, if Viper's better on tanks than Broken Blade is, that's all, then I go to FlyQuest.
Okay.
But I don't think that's likely. I think it's TSM.
I do too. I really think it's TSM. My gut tells me that as well. So, yeah, I go with you there.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Round it out. Top of the pack. Cloud9. They for a day were C9-0, and then they said, you know what? Fuck it, C10-0.
Right.
Also, fun fact. That day that they were playing their 9th game, I believe it was that Saturday, like before they played their 9th game. I don't believe it was on this anyway. They're there's the tailgate before the LCS.
Yeah.
They were giving out Cloud9-0 shirts. They're giving out Cloud9-0 shirts. Oh, I wish I could have been there. I want one so bad. But yeah, they're giving out Cloud9-0 shirts. This team, 10-0. I'd have to double check, but I've looked before. I'm fairly certain this has not happened, at least in the last 3 years. I don't believe... Well, I think last 3 years are the only times we've been running a 18-game season.
Right.
I know it did not happen last year.
Nope.
Here, just go ahead. Give me some flat thoughts on Cloud9 heading into the season first, and I'll double check what the longest start streak was.
Heading into the season, you lose Sneaky, you lose the face of Cloud9, so to speak. He was there the longest and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you go in with some uncertainty. They bring in Sven, who wasn't doing the greatest. You bring in Vulcan, who's seen ups and downs too. Licorice, we knew he'd probably be good. I mean, he was one of the top laners in last split and everything. Licorice, I knew he was going to do just fine. Blabber was probably the one that I was worried about the most, because Niski, he did well in the mid lane, and I really enjoyed watching Niski. Blabber was the one who I was kind of worried about, though, because it was just like, well, he didn't perform as well last year, he did get a little better, but beginning of the split, it was just like, okay, we'll see how this goes. Hopefully they have the potential of being in the top.
Yeah.
And then
in hindsight,
you watch you're right, and now you just watch the first few weeks, and you're like, They're still undefeated.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
and
Okay.
it's ridiculous the stats they're putting up. So I checked it quick.
Oh.
Just the 2 previous seasons, I've got those on lock because we've been doing loggers for that long, and the previous worlds. 7-0 was the longest starting streak. That was by Liquid last spring. And they did end up going 14-1 for a while. They dropped to TSM on their 8th game, won the next 7 again, and then lost 3 at the end. 14-1 to 14-4. But yeah, so 7-0 was the furthest somebody made it. Cloud9's done it, and not only have they done it, it has been absolutely dominating. I don't know if you looked at that stat sheet I put up in the Discord somebody made on Reddit, but they're everything they do is a complete mockery
like
of the rest of
everything.
Oh, and no, it's not just we're in first place. It is by ridiculous margins. Like, they are making a mockery of the LCS, which I think makes a lot of sense, when you look at kind of the state of the league overall. I think FlyQuest and TSM, fine teams. They're not great, though. I wouldn't put them in competition to make playoffs in Europe or some other region right now. And you've got Cloud9, who's like, oh, they could probably fight for, like, top 2-3 and, LCK, LEC. Like, shit.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm excited with this squad they've got.
Yeah.
It's just, they play such a good, controlled match, and it's just like, every single time you think a team season opening, and you're just like, oh, shit, here it comes.
Yeah.
They're going to go, and they just find some way to pull it out, and it's just like, they might lose 1 or 2, but if that happens, the entire other team is aced, and it's just they win by such control. Their objectives, their every single thing. I mean, I think they're up to like 100% Baron, 100%.
Yeah, they have not given over a Baron. They have lost 3 out of 40 some Drakes.
Right. That's
how many inhib turrets do you think they've lost?
At most 2.
None.
But probably not even... None?
Jeez. How many mid-tier 1 turrets do you think they've lost? They haven't lost a single fucking mid-turret, all split yet. Nobody's taken a single mid-turret from them.
Not even first tier?
No, not even the first tier turret.
Holy cow!
Yeah. I think they've given 1 Rift Herald. They've given a couple Rift Heralds over. The stat sheet I put up was after week 4 earlier, so it was when they were 8-0. Every single one of their wins was below the league average game time of 34-30. I know one of their games was sub 30 this week. I don't remember if the other one was. So they're probably
aren't they averaging? They're averaging like 26-27, aren't they?
Yeah, they're real low. So after that 8-week mark, here's another one. Their kill death total, right? I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Their KD, just like how positive or negative you are, just kills to deaths. They were at 102 positive. The next closest. Who do you think the next closest team was? Kills to deaths, like positive, negative. They had 102. Go ahead and give me a guess on the team first. High performing team.
High performing team.
Yep.
FlyQuest.
Yeah, it was FlyQuest. What do you think their number was?
Okay.
Cloud9 was up plus 102.
6.
Sorry, what?
60, in the 60s?
Ooh, I thought you said it for a moment. It was 16.
So, what?
16 to 102.
Oh my god.
After 8 weeks, Cloud9 was positive 67 towers. The next closest was FlyQuest also, with positive 4 towers. Cloud9 had only given up, I think, 11 towers total after 4 weeks.
Can we just fast forward to MSI? I want to see MSI.
Oh no, you know what? It was Cloud9 had given up 10 towers total after 4 weeks because some teams have given up 11 in a game. Like fuck.
Yeah.
Their gold was positive 104,000 gold. The next closest was, oh my god, it was FlyQuest again, I think. Yeah, FlyQuest again with 2K, 2,000 positive. Elemental Drakes, positive 27. And this all once again after week 4. They're probably worse now. I mean, more ridiculous. Cloud9 positive 27 Elemental Drakes. FlyQuest +5. Elders and Barons +10 for Cloud9. The next closest, much closer this time, +4 for Immortals. Like, most of those numbers are insane. Oh, and by the way, Immortals and Golden Guardians, I believe, are the only other teams who were positive on... Oh, no. I guess EG was +1 as well. Everybody else was even or negative on Elders and Barons. Because you know where that other, +6 or whatever fucking came from? Oh, it's from goddamn Cloud9 crushing everybody. Like, their numbers are gross. They're just taking everything on the map from every team and beating them in a way that's just absurd. And I think that culminated in support Sven Senna. Like,
yep.
This team is, to take a phrase I love from Community, they're streets ahead. They're just streets ahead. And if you don't know what that means, then you're streets behind.
I love that show.
Like, they're so good compared. Now, granted, like you said, I can't wait to see MSI, which, God, that's all fucking up in the air. We'll see even if MSI happens, but yay, coronavirus.
Wait. It's not affecting the Western. It's all good.
So, MSI is 1 worldwide. 2 was scheduled, I believe, to be in Asia this year.
I thought it was...
Or no, World Championship's supposed to be in China this year. I think MSI might have been slated for, like, Korea. I don't know if we knew for sure. But China actually just recently announced that there will be no athletic events until... those are on hiatus at least until April 30th. Well, guess what? MSI is May. So unless LPL starts playing them online or some shit, LPL season's going to start, like, 12 days before MSI is supposed to. Almost start because they had, like, 2 weeks. And the outbreak's starting to get worse in Korea. And even if, like, shit's cleared up, doesn't mean that other countries will be allowing Chinese people to fly into their countries yet. Because right now, you can't fly out of China into your country. Or to any other
Rift
country.
Rivals. Can we just have a form of
Rift Rivals? I don't believe is actually happening this year either. I think Rift Rivals was already canceled.
Why?
Because he was in the middle of the split and it was kind of a pain in the ass for a lot of people. I don't know. We'll see. There's been talk about it. People keep saying there was confirmation somewhere, but I haven't looked. But no. So anyway, though, Cloud9 crushing everyone. It's ridiculous. I think TSM and FlyQuest are both improving. TSM more so. I think Liquid will improve, which will help push this team. But right now, Cloud9 understands the game on a level that no one else in this region does. It's not even fucking close. And honestly, like, I can't say that they would be top 2 in LEC. Or, I should say, I can't say that they would be tied for that first, because there's a 4-way tie for first in LEC right now. But I don't think it's unlikely, because, I mean, we look at what we're seeing there, and I think teams are, at times, over-aggressing and making mistakes. And Cloud9, their mistake, I don't think they could necessarily handle all that aggression. But at the same time, I think they're playing the map better than quite a few of those teams. But it's hard to argue how well they play the map when, they're always on the front foot. Because, like, not only are they making the right map play, they're making it before their opponent, because their opponent's just not as fucking good as they are. Their opponent doesn't understand the meta the way they do. They don't do things the way they should be doing. And Cloud9's just like, well, this is what's right. And you see it, like, in that Senna game where it's like, it's Senna Kench bottom. Kench is going to take all the farm. Senna is going to harass you nonstop. And she's going to have 100 stacks by 20 minutes. Good luck ever touching her. Oh, by the way, she has, like, 80% crit chance now. It's so gross.
Sven is just disgusting on her. He really is. He understands how she works.
All right, here's a fun thing. Who is the league MVP right now, Blabber or Sven? I think, like, if you're talking league MVP, it has to be one of the two.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I like what Niski's been doing. I think Vulcan's also a huge part of that bot lane, but I don't think he, being a support, he would have to be the reason Niski's winning as well as Sven winning. And I think Niski's winning because of Blabber. and Sven is winning because of Vulcan. So I think you can kind of separate those two. So who's the bigger deal here? Is it Blabber or is it Niski? Or I'm sorry, Sven.
I know who you meant. I think it's Sven, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean
just because of the way.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna. I mean, Blabber, yeah, he's making the plays, he's doing all of that. Don't get me wrong. But Sven, I think it's just the backline of what he offers. You know, he's in the right place. He knows his position to be in. I mean, it speaks for itself. Look how long he went without a death.
Oh my god, 86 KDA before he got his second death.
Right, exactly.
So close.
It was, and it's just insane to think that. That's why I would put Sven there, because he knows where he needs to be. He knows where his positioning is. He knows who he has to take out first with his marksman. You know, it's just Sven,
and actually
he understands it.
I'll go off to add to what you said. Like, look how long he went without dying. There's something I saw in the Cloud9 subreddit where during their game against CLG, they like overdose. Well, they didn't even overdose because Blabber had one of the sexiest Lee Sin kicks in the world. Queued to someone, ward hopped towards the 80 carry, and then ult flashed behind 6A to kick him back in the team, which Licorice immediately ruined by set ulting him back to where he came from. Which then resulted in Pobelter, Azir shuffling half the team into the Nexus turrets, and like they ended up getting aced. But so anyway, in the Cloud9 subreddit, so somewhere in there, somebody asked, is CLG the only team to ace Cloud9 this split? And what do you think the answer is to that? Do you have to think about it?
No, they haven't been aced any other game, I don't think.
No. You know why? You know right away they haven't? Because Sven has died 3 times all split. And you know, one of them was to Frog and Inting. Like, he flashed forward, ulted just Sven, and got that kill. That was his first death. His second one was Jizuke flashing over the wall as Rumble and flamethrowing him down. So his third death was the ace. It means they didn't fucking get ace the other 2 times, because everybody else just, like, crushed the rest of the other team. They only lost Sven on both those plays.
Yeah, you're
that is how dominant this team has been, and Sven, that you're like, oh man, they just got aced. Ooh, have they gotten aced by anybody else? No, I know they haven't. Why? Because I can list all 3 of Sven's deaths, and two of them involve one player going ham just to kill Sven, while the rest of the team kills everyone.
Yeah.
Motherfucker, really?
Yeah.
And the third time he died was because Licorice entered a game-winning fight. What the hell, man?
I would have loved to hear comms right after that. Really?
Their mic check thing is brain check. Cloud9 posts their brain check.
Right.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I hope there's some comments. I know, in the post-game interview, Licorice, he's like, yeah, I straight up inted that. I don't remember how he said it. He's like, yeah, Blabber got a great kick, and then I just, ulted him straight back to where he came from. So that was a mistake.
Yeah.
All right. So I think that and we expect Cloud9 to finish the season in first right now, yeah? If Cloud9 doesn't win the split, it'll be a disappointment for them, I think, at this point.
Absolutely.
Which sucks.
Absolutely.
So I think that they absolutely make the finals. If they don't make the finals, that should be disappointing.
Yep.
How many losses do you think they end with?
I'm going to go with the dream. 18-0.
You think they're ace in the season, even though they finished the split off against TL?
Yes. Yep.
All right.
I think it's gonna. If they do lose, it's gonna come down to that TL match. That's when it's gonna happen.
I get that. So here's the other one. Oh no, that's right. We got your prediction down. You said that you thought Sven was gonna end with 12 deaths. I said I said that. I said 15, Chase said 18. Kev right now crushing it with 7.
Yep.
3 deaths, and they're just past the halfway point.
10 games.
Yeah.
10 games.
Yeah, just past the halfway point. That 6 is looking more likely, and that's within 2 of 7. So Kev might win this.
Yeah, right.
All right, but Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it, for real. And that's going to do it for Season 4, Episode 6 of League of Vloggers. Everyone, thank you for joining me, and I'll be back with Chase Viking Redbeard next week. Until then, cheers!